So welcome. So first of all, Jenny, let me just say this: congratulations
Thank you
for
so much.
being absolutely Administrator of the Year. What a great feeling that is. And so we are just so proud and happy, and I'm delighted that I have the opportunity to interview you this evening and learn a little more about you. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started and jump right into this.
Okay,
All right. So first of all, Jen, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in CTE?
absolutely. So, as long as I can remember, I've been an advocate for children, but I didn't know exactly what type of occupation that I wanted to pursue. No one in my family ever went to college before, so I never really envisioned that pathway for myself. But during my senior year of high school, I ended up co oping as a high school student in a preschool classroom for students with disabilities in order to get out of physics class. And that I never liked school. And that set me on a path to becoming a special education teacher for 9 years, advocating for students with learning differences. I loved that work, but I was recruited by a neighboring district to come and work for their CTE center as their special populations coordinator. And at the time, I didn't even know what CTE was or what it stood for. I had never been in the building before. But the second I walked through the door, I knew I was home. CTE makes me emotional. I spent the next 7 years in that district advocating for students with disabilities, designing instructional materials to help them be successful, working with teachers on classroom delivery, and educating staff about the nuances with different disabilities. I also took over our federal Perkins grant, which was a regional grant, and ran career camps and credit recovery programs that infused CTE and helped our general ed teachers see how these two things could work together. Then I moved into administration as an assistant principal. I was a curriculum and instruction supervisor and eventually a CTE director. And then 6 years ago, I transitioned into my current district to start a CTE department. So I got to develop it from the ground up and really develop my own job. Our community worked with me and my superintendent at the time to help pass a countywide millage for funding, concurrently with my assembling of this cross-sector 74 partner talent consortium to develop a talent pipeline for our county. So I neglected to say I took a job that didn't previously exist, that didn't have a budget. So it was a big risk coming here, but there were equity issues that I wanted to be able to address because that's always been near and dear to my heart. So as a result of the work of our talent consortium, we were awarded over $6 million in grant funds to implement our plan, and also our countywide millage passed by quite a lot. It should be noted that the millage had been on our ballot several times before, and voters did not vote to pass it previously, so it was historic. My goal is to make sure every child in our county had the opportunity to access CTE using those funds to remove financial barriers. As a result, enrollment in our countywide center has more than doubled in just 4 years.
Wow. Wow. That is absolutely amazing. And it just speaks volumes of, your passion and your love that you have for CTE, which brings me to my next question. And where does your passion come from when we talk about CTE? And clearly, you kind of described it for us, but I know that there's so much more behind it. And then, why is CTE important to you?
Sure. My passion just comes from an insatiable need I've had my whole life to make sure that all students, all people have opportunities for a good future. And that begins with connecting them to career opportunities. Even when I was teaching elementary school, that's the way I taught. Employers were in my classroom all the time. I had elementary kids that started school-based enterprises. I put them on work-based learning experiences before I had the language to even explain what it was that I was doing. I just thought to get kids to come to school, because a lot of my kids had high absenteeism just because of the situations they came from. I thought, well, let's give them a job. Let's make them feel valuable and show them that they could be successful, and it worked. So I've taught at all levels. But when I was a kid, no one guided me toward future goals, as I mentioned, or even advocated for me. And it wasn't until my senior year that someone showed an interest in my future, took me on my one and only college visit. And I finally saw a path for myself in combination with that co-op job that I mentioned before in that preschool. So I know what it did for me and for my life. I could never have envisioned that I would be doing what I'm doing today when I was in high school, even, 10 years ago for that matter. And so I just vowed that I would pay it forward every day. So everybody had this opportunity because no child should be limited by their circumstances or their zip code.
Mhm. Well, Jenna, I tell you, in CTE, we are really fortunate to have you because when you said preschool, that's like the foundation and that's where it all begins. And so I'm just elated that, to know that, that's where it all started for you and that's how it began. And so, as an administrator, so what advice would you give to other administrators and helping them to create successful programs? And clearly, you have been successful at doing that, so share that with us.
Oh, I think the foundation to everything is relationships and collaboration. Too often you find people that want to kind of build their own little kingdom as opposed to working with partners. And you get so much more done if you can bring people to the table. Everybody, we brought our whole entire community to the table, from legislators to nonprofits to certainly our businesses and our school districts, but everybody, because people got excited about it. They were able to see a future and what this could do for the community if we had strong CTE programs. And people like to be part of innovation. So when everybody's rowing in the same direction, things get done. But relationships, they take time. You have to nurture them. You need to engage regularly. You need to get things across the finish line, and that's how you build trust. So getting things done, communicating what you've done and how you've done that will build those relationships. And the next thing you know, people are going to be knocking on your door asking things of you. But the mantra I would say is be a doer. People love to talk, they love to plan, but you need to do, and that is something that has gotten things done here. I think CT is one of the most important things. It's that conduit that bridges school to a child's future. I have two kids of my own that were CTE students. One of them is 18 months away from being a doctor, and the other
Wow.
one finally is enjoying school because he's in a CTE program and he can see a path towards his future. And this is where workforce development begins in communities. It's an essential part of economic development. And we all want the very best for our communities and for our kids and our grandkids. And this is what keeps students in regions so that they don't move away, is when there's robust opportunities in their communities with jobs and employment. So CT is it's great for kids, it's great for businesses, it's great for communities. There's just no downside.
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say congratulations on your children who have been successful in CTE. And it is quite apparent that is because they have a mom who has been so very passionate about it and just showing them the direction and how CTE is a path that just can take you in so many different directions, right? And so, with that being said, our next question is this. So, as an administrator, what type of advice or support or encouragement would you give new administrators or even veteran administrators who may be facing some current challenges?
Yeah, I would say, the Stephen Covey piece, begin with the end in mind. And then you can build towards that and remember your why. So, what is your goal? What is it that you would like things to look like in your community, your school, whatever it might be? And why are you here? If you have students at the center of your decision making every single day, you cannot go wrong. But you have to, you can't get mired in the muck, because there's a lot of muck that comes with the job. And so you
Mhm.
just need to keep your eye on what this is going to do for your community. That's what gets me out of bed every day, just knowing that I could be transforming my community to be able to cultivate opportunities for future generations. What an honor. I mean, this is a vocation, it's a calling, it's an honor. And if you keep that in mind, for at least from my perspective, that's something that's going to keep you moving. But also be genuine. Don't, there's a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't, sometimes people feel like they have to sugarcoat challenges and problems.
Mhm.
And it's just important to bring them to the forefront. These are some of the things that we're dealing with. And I have always been surprised by how people will jump in and find different ways to try to support different issues that you might be having, depending on what those are. But that's, again, how you build those strong community relationships and trust, is just by being genuine, authentic, and trustworthy.
Yes, absolutely. And so, just listening to you and hearing your story and hearing your background, I know that you have many things that you have accomplished, but share with us one of your proudest accomplishments that you've had in CTE.
Well, I've already talked about our talent consortium. That was a big deal. Um, there's two I'm vacillating between. So one of them is our Saginaw County Youth Ambassador Program. It's not necessarily CTE specific, but it's something I developed in my role to be able to create a cadre of peer mentors that would be ambassadors to their schoolmates about why this place is a great place to live, work, and play. So it's a 3-year leadership development program. They get selected at the end of the 9th grade year. And these are the students that love their community, that are invested, that show up to school, not necessarily the kids that always get the same opportunities. And we have 2 from each school district. And we take a new cohort every year. First year is leadership development. They go through Dale Carnegie training, if you're familiar with that. The second year, they get infused into our community to see what it all has to offer in preparation for being ambassadors to their community. And as a result, our kids have had the opportunity to interact with legislators, to influence legislation, to influence mental health supports in our schools. They got a chance to meet President Biden the week of the Vision Conference, because I was at Vision and our students were shaking hands and taking selfies with President Biden. So the message, I mean, it's such a proud moment because these kids,
Yeah.
these are things that they're never going to forget. And to me, it's all about students. I won't go into details. I know we're probably limited on time, but the other piece was being able to help to bring a registered apprenticeship program for teachers to the state of Michigan, and working in partnership with our State Department and our Department of Labor for making that happen. I'm a passionate advocate for registered apprenticeships. So those two things stand out as recent points of pride for me.
Wow. That's amazing. So they got to shake the president's hand while we were at Vision?
And take selfies. Yes, they're sending me photos. My counselor and I were on the monorail, jumping up and down, watching this live stream. I'm like, I can't believe it, right? I can't believe it. So, yeah, amazing.
Oh, I know that made you feel so wonderful just knowing that these were young adults that you have groomed and you've worked with, and so that is a proud moment. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And Jenny, our last question that we have for you is what part of being an ACTE member do you value most? And what would you say to someone considering becoming a member?
So the things that I find the most valuable are certainly the resources. I use your resources all of the time, and the advocacy work that you do around funding and legislation. I mean, that, from that perspective, I greatly value that. I serve as one of our legislative liaisons between our state CTE directors and our state lawmakers. And so
Mhm.
I've utilized ACTE resources to help educate them about CTE with stats and statistics, some elements of our toolkit. I sit on our Michigan ACTE executive board as well. And so, we utilize that toolkit and have amended it, for Michigan as well. So those resources are just, I can't say enough about them. And I'm a staunch advocate of CTE. You won't find a bigger fan of CTE. So the infographics that you share, I've used them widely in our community, and we talk about the facts as it relates to our CTE students and what those outcomes look like. They've just been invaluable, especially here. So I would say to somebody considering being a member, what a great opportunity to network with people doing what you're doing and finding out how CTE is implemented in different states, because it opens your world. And that's the best thing about the Vision Conference is you get to talk about people and it validates things that you might be struggling with in your own community. You're like, oh, you mean
Mhm.
that's happening in Oklahoma too, right? And then you create a network of peers across the country where you can share best practices and really bring innovation to the forefront. To me, like, that is the best. And I love Techniques magazine.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're so right, Jenny. I mean, I have the same feeling that you have, just the opportunity to be able to network and meet people and talk to different people. I am a classroom teacher, so it has been tremendously a big help for me. And I really want to give you your flowers and your kudos because you are an administrator and you are the person that helps us as classroom teachers to be successful at what we do. And I know that your teachers in Michigan are they're blessed to have you, because you are so passionate about what you do. And so I just want to say that I am humbled and honored to have had the opportunity to interview you, and just to say congratulations to you again. I know that our paths will cross at some point, right? Because we do go to our meetings and our vision. Hopefully, I'll see you next year.
Well,
Um, but again, congratulations. And, I wish you all the best as you continue to move forward and what it is that you do. And, your kids, your young adults that you have under your wings are certainly, certainly fortunate to have you. So thank you.
thank you so much. You're so kind, and bless you for the work that you are doing every day in the trenches with our students, because it's because of teachers like you that we can do what we do as administrators. It takes a team, and
Yes.
I'm proud to be part of CTE across our country.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
All
Have a
right.
good evening.
Bye.